This is Pro Wrestling Illustrated, a love letter to independent wrestling from Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. I am one of your hosts, PWI Editor-in-Chief Kevin McElvaney. With me here, as always, the good witch, the divine darling, the conduit of karma, the batch baddie, Kaia McKenna. Kaia, how's it going?
Just racking up nicknames left and right these days, but it's all good. Maybe one day I'll have one of those 2-minute long intros. Just all my nicknames.
We'll get around to it. And I do have to acknowledge up front, the last time I was in a space with you and our guest today, you were on other sides of the ring facing one another in a tag match at Thrashelvania. So hopefully a little more friendly atmosphere here today.
We're in a friendly competition today, right?
I think we're cool now.
We're cool. We buried the hatchet.
Yeah, we
Good. Viva Van, welcome to PW Indie, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You got a lot going on. You've had a lot going on. I think we start with this breaking news, which has come out, which is that you are getting a shot at becoming the CMLL World Women's Champion this week. What?
Yeah. I mean, I'm as surprised as you are. So
yeah, no, didn't expect that coming into this week, but yeah, the match was changed. You're up against Willow Nightingale and Juvia. And you're going to have, there's going to be a new champion crowned. You've been to Mexico a few times, but this is your first Fantastica Mania show that you'll be wrestling on. So Talk about that. Like, how excited are you for this? Are you nervous? What's the mood?
You know, wrestling is so unpredictable to where, like, 1 minute you're like, man, I have a weekend off. And then the next you're like, oh, hell yeah, I'm there, you know? So to me, I've always been okay with like going with the flow. I've been used to it. Been doing this for about 6-7 years now. So I feel like I'm kind of used to like things always being on the fly and going with the flow. But I've been training for this moment. And I thought I would get an opportunity against a New Japan Strong Women's Champion before this. But, you know, I'm not mad at the CMLL World Women's Champion. I'm down with that, too. And I've been training at the New Japan Academy 2 to 3 times a week. So I'm ready. I am so ready. Even though this is the last minute thing. And I'm very happy for Stephanie Backer. She deserves the world. I'm ready.
Well, there's like a confidence that comes with being prepared, right? Knowing that you've put the time in physically, that you've put the time in mentally. So when these opportunities come, you can just strike when the iron's hot and just show everybody what you're all about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been putting in the work. So I always stay ready, even when I know I have a weekend off or a few weeks off. You never know when they might call you. So I'm always trying to be as ready as possible.
It really is like
I don't feel it, but you know, try my best.
It's like peaks and valleys almost, right? Like you have to kind of ride the ebb and flow of the business. And there are going to be times where you're like really up here. And then there are going to be times where you're like, okay, do I need to reevaluate? Like, is it something I'm doing or is this just the natural course? And I love that right now it seems to be like you're just climbing higher and higher and higher and higher, like out of frame, right? To the moon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I mean, let's talk about that because I mean, you've done a lot over. I mean, really, the last 2 to 3 years, you were doing the belt collector thing. If there was a women's championship somewhere between Nevada and California, you had it. It was just like, and I'm probably leaving some states out, but I know for sure those two.
Like Northwest, why correct?
Texas, yeah. Well.
Yeah, there we go. So I mean, you were doing all that. And then now, recently, and this is a big part of why we had you on, you had this big viral moment over WrestleMania week. And you had a few standout matches there. Like we talked about Thrashelvania. You were on Spark, the TJPW show. So you were busy. But Kaia, I know you were like champing at the bit to talk about this. So I'm going to let you lead on this.
Well, yeah, we just talk about how like it's unpredictable and you don't know when you're going to get these opportunities. And amidst all the chaos of your very busy Mania weekend, you were presented with the opportunity to partake in the GCW Clusterfuck, which is a great opportunity, but it's also a very interesting challenge as a wrestler because you go out there to be in the Clusterfuck with like 862 people. And mentally, you're thinking, or at least I would be thinking, okay, I have 30 seconds to a minute to make all of these people know who I am and recognize me and like acknowledge me, right? And bow down. So like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to maximize that time and get the most out of this opportunity, right? And like, what was kind of going through your head when you found out that you were in fact going to be in there and you had to kind of create a game plan for what you were going to do?
So I was at the Stardom show to show Mina love because we were about to tag with each other at Windy City the following week after that. So I was at Stardom, and the Stardom show was ending, and so as the show was ending, another show was starting, and I saw Joey Janela, and he was like, "Hey, you're on the clusterfuck, by the way." I was like, "Huh? Really? I am?" He's like, "Yeah, we got a graphic for you and everything." The graphic never happened. I guess I was supposed to be an entrant. I don't know what was going on. I was like, "Well, he says I'm on it, so I'm gonna show up." So when I showed up, I still didn't know what was going on, and like seeing how many people were there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of people, and no one knows what's going on. So as soon as I knew that I had a few minutes to just be in there and be out, I was like, I definitely don't want to go like the route that I usually go, where I'm always like trying to go all out with my wrestling moves and try to like win as much as possible. This is more of a moment. And I knew that I was supposed to be in there with Ali Catch. And so I created this moment, but I don't know what happens. For some reason, Ali wasn't there anymore. So pretty much like 15 to 20 minutes before I'm about to walk out, DeReiss got added in. And so the moment that I created this teasing the stink face moment that I wanted to do to honor my trainer, Kishi. And, I got his permission to do it. So I was like, that was supposed to be with Ali Catch, but it ended up being DeReiss. And I was talking with Fuego about how we come up with this magic story, and we did it. And that's how it came about.
And how many views was that at on the last time we checked?
The last time I checked, it was at 1.2 million views.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
That's
especially
a lot of eyeballs.
The time frame that it hit to, like 1.2 million over like a day is just wild to think about. That wasn't like that sat and brewed for like a month,
And what's crazy is that I think me and DeReiss posted the video first, but it's always someone else that posts.
Oh, always.
That goes viral.
Like the troll accounts.
God forbid you get the engagement on it. Yeah.
Or like the ad revenue at this point, I'm sure,
like,
right?
Yeah.
From us. But hey, I'm still happy it went viral, regardless of whose post it went to. But
I think you need to tag with Rikishi, and then DeReiss picks a partner of his choosing, and it's like a double stink face. Like,
oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
That would be fun. But I love that.
There's a pet stampede in the house. If there was just a loud rumble, sorry.
It's also like very interesting too, because there have been a couple, no pun intended, cheeky spots in wrestling in the past 2 years. But I think the way that you executed that spot with Fuego and with DeReiss is what made the moment, right?
Yeah,
Just the fresh spin on it, having the homage to Rikishi, but also like DeReiss getting booty blocked, like and his reaction. And the way you sold it as well, like you were going to keep him alive. And I love that intensity and that energy.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to give a shout out to Fuego too, because Fuego was the one who told DeReiss, like, you need to react this way.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that's what gave DeReiss the idea for the reaction. So I know a lot of people, I thought we were going to like run it back in a triple threat, because I felt like Fuego was really important in the storytelling. He stopped something from happening. Why wasn't he in a,
Sure.
He did his part. He's like, your problem now, Viva. You deal with them.
Yeah, I definitely want to give like a shout out to Fuego for that, because if it wasn't for Fuego, I don't think the story would have been as magical.
Yeah, so you did run it back with DeReiss, though. You had this match the following month, which ended with the story being finished. The move that was blocked occurred. You pinned DeReiss. You win the match. And it's just this, I don't know, it's rare, especially for something that's kind of like such a silly moment in some ways, for it to turn into like, oh no, we have to see this match because this storyline has to be paid off on the independents, just during a time when there's so much other stuff happening between WrestleMania week and then of course like the season after WrestleMania is also wild. just it had to be overwhelming. It just flew by, I would imagine.
The pressure was really high. I had no idea how we were going to end the story, so we did the best that we could. I was really hoping for Fuego to be part of it to help end the story, but it's okay. It happened the way it did, and people still loved it. People were still there for it, and it, the second moment also went viral, and it ended happy. We ended on a happy note.
So I feel like we should put this out here too, because one other thing that happened, there was like an engagement ring and all this stuff that went down after the match. And you went on social media and you clarified this. You and DeReiss are not engaged. That was kind of swept up in the moment, maybe, but it's just lest anyone get the wrong idea, because we don't want people coming up to you or to him at shows, months from now saying, "Hey, congratulations, where are you registered?" Like,
my Amazon wish list.
Yeah, so
we'll do that. Yeah, give a wish list anyway, right?
Give me a wish list, of course. Get me stuff. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I had to clarify that because not everyone watches GCW. Mm-hmm. So people who follow me could be my family, could be my friends that aren't in wrestling, or just my fan base. I don't want to break their heart and make them.
And you have a lot of fans internationally too. Just going to Mexico and Japan, and they might get the wrong idea.
Yeah, and so a lot of them don't follow the GCW storyline. As viral as it went, not everyone knows about it. So when I saw that was blowing up more than the video, I was like, okay, I have to say something. Now I was like, this storyline is supposed to be finished, not continued.
It's interesting because you were mentioning the value of going really hard and really showing what you can do in the ring, but then also creating a moment and having experiences where it is more physical and in which you do actually wrestling, and then having experiences where it's more story and moment driven. Mm-hmm. Has it helped you to strike a balance between the two to carry that success onto larger stages when you get opportunities with AEW or New Japan?
Yeah, definitely. It helped me to think and slow down. Mm-hmm. Whereas before my mindset was oh, I don't take shit from nobody. I'm a badass. I'm going to go all out. I'm here to win. I'm a buck collector. That helped me slow down and process everything and just be more of an attraction, mm-hmm. You have to attract people. You have to tell a story and just be more memorable. And I felt like those moments count way more than just doing things in the ring.
It sounds like you just learned to maximize overall,
sure.
Right? If wrestling is squeezing an orange, something my coach says, it's do you squeeze the orange and then you throw it away? Or do you squeeze it like this and squeeze it like that and then turn it around and squeeze it like that and just and ring it and just get everything out of it? And it seems to me you've just mastered the art of just wringing the orange for all it's worth and getting the most out of all of your opportunities. And I just love to see that.
Yeah, definitely. That was the best. I've never heard it that way. So your coach is onto something.
Yes, Seth has a way with words sometimes.
I wish someone would have told me. I wish someone would have told me that way. I would have gotten it down a long time ago.
It was probably told to me that way 2 or 3 times before it clicked, if we're being fair. I do think there is an element of experience, right? You can have the best coaches and the best support system, but experience is the best teacher. It really is.
No, you're right. Because there are times where Keisha would tell me things and I'm like, I don't get it until I actually go through. I'm like, oh, this is what he was talking about.
I have so many of those moments.
Turns on. But yeah, you're right. Words don't really mean anything until you go through it.
Well, yeah, and you said you're at the 6 or 7 year mark now, so I'm sure there's advice that has been given to you by Rikishi that you received early on that you were like, what? That now you're like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it now. But you have to go through the experience in order to have the context and appreciate the advice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning too that it's not an either or proposition for going really hard in the ring and making moments. There's plenty of people who do both. And I mean, Seth Rollins, one of Kaia's coaches, perfect example of that. Somebody who can have the just complete entertainment moment that is, would grab somebody's attention, whether or not they follow wrestling or, but going into this viral moment, you had this reputation. And for people who didn't know that yet, they found out real quick that you can go in there. There's a reason you get called for these big gigs, for these New Japan shows. You know, you worked with Stephanie Valkyrie before. Was that, it was earlier in the year. It's slipping my mind which show, but you've worked for them several times. You worked for AEW. You worked with Athena at Ring of Honor. I mean, you've really gotten out there, and it's got to feel good, right? Because you're being picked to get in the ring with people who are really good, and that's not an accident.
Yeah, it is. It's an honor. It really feels like all the hard work I put into training, whenever I get these big opportunities, really pay out. And I usually thrive better under pressure. So, like I said, like when I get last minute calls, I always get last minute calls all the time, and I'm kind of getting used to it by now. But that's how I work best. And yeah, it feels really good. It feels like people are finally seeing what I can do. And when that viral moment happened, and I gained, like, you know, a new group. My dog just took her cone off and threw it on the ground.
All right, we know how she feels about that.
That paid off a storyline we talked about off air. So
real quick, because she's about to jump.
Yeah, of course.
Let's be part of this. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyways.
Oh, look at this sweet baby. We are definitely animal lovers on this podcast.
All right. So where was I at?
The pressure, but getting the last minute calls and being able, and always being able to deliver.
Oh yeah. So like when I, you know, obviously when the video went viral, me teasing the stink face, I gained new fans from that. But then I also gained a lot of new haters from it, because a lot of them were like trying to slut shame me, saying that if you put the time into training, you would be a good wrestler. So that's when I started posting my wrestling, and my promo was like, wait, hold on. This is my first time doing something like this, where I'm just creating a story. I've been about it. I'm letting you all know I've been about it.
Screaming to the pillow, literally.
Seriously, when I see stuff like that, it's like, tell us you don't pay attention to wrestling. It's fine. Like,
yeah, you just shaming women. It's okay. That's what you do.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. That's why it's okay to, like, I normally don't shame someone for not knowing who a wrestler is, but when you're going to be like an asshole about it, then yeah.
I mean, I don't know. As a woman, anytime I've expressed an interest in anything, I'm immediately met with a 10-page pop quiz on the entire history of whatever this interest is. And
you like wrestling, huh? Name 3 of its albums.
Shoot.
Yeah, being like listening to metal. Like if you wear a death metal shirt, name 10 songs from this album.
Well, you know this because your music stuff that you've done. I mean, you've been through it in both ends of it. It's
yeah. So I know, like, I feel like I understand what Kaia means by that, because that used to happen to me when I was in a band.
Oh yeah,
they would tell me, oh yeah, you like this band? Well, name this many songs from this album. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh wow, hold up one second. Let me go to the Rolodex here. You were mentioning like the pressure of getting these calls and these last minute calls and these opportunities, and I can't remember where I read it, but there was like a piece of, we'll call it witchy wisdom, and I'll see if I can locate the source. But it's pressure is privilege, because you wouldn't be getting this pressure if people didn't believe in you. Like, it's a privilege to have this pressure. It's a privilege to know that these people are so confident in what you do and what you bring to the table that they're willing to take these chances on you. Like, it truly is a privilege to be under that kind of pressure, because not everybody gets to experience that because they can't deliver. And the only reason you're in that position is because they know you can deliver. They believe in you. And just reframing it that way is just a great way to look at the pressure aspect of it. I think it's like, you're here for a reason because you're great, right?
Oh, thank you. That really, that meant a lot to me, because I'm very hard on
privilege, I'm telling you.
I'm very hard on myself, because I feel like, although people from the outside are congratulating me and thanking me for all my success, I still feel like I haven't made it yet, because I haven't signed a contract anywhere. So to me, I feel like I haven't made it yet. But like, when I hear, you know, you telling me that, it reminds me, you know, there was a time like a few years ago where I would have died to be where I'm at now, and I need to look at it that way. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think in wrestling, and I know many people have said it, right? We're all our own worst critics. And it's very hard to like see where you truly fall on the totem pole or in the pecking order when you're all caught up in it. So
Definitely.
just take a moment and go, okay, I'm here because they believe in me. They would not have me here if they thought I was going to go out there and suck. You know, like
a quick bow
of a stage, and too important of people that I'm working with that they wouldn't be rolling the dice. Like, I'm here for a reason, and that is because I am good.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? My last little question.
I used to cry in my car and eat greasy peanut butter cups after I would wrestle, so I've had to learn this.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's something that I think only comes with time and experience, and that's just from my as lifelong fan and someone who's been covering this industry for a long time. But even talking to people like you two who have said, hey, like there are times where it really does feel discouraging and like you're treading water. So I think for your peers to be able to say, hey, like I remember when you were doing this and now you're doing this, that's a big thing. But I mean, the one thing I wanted to ask you was about goals, but it kind of, you just sort of let the cat out of the bag there, or dog, I guess in this case, dog out of the cone. But it sounds like that's kind of where you want to be headed. You want to have just almost maybe even out of principle, like a full-time, like you want to be contracted somewhere and one place and have it to call your home. Is that right? Is that a fair thing to say that's your goal?
Yes, that is my ultimate goal, and it has always been since I started. So I think that I won't feel like I've made it until that has happened. And then, but that's my own validation that I feel like I need. I know everyone's goals in wrestling is different, but that's something that I've always the goal is to get signed and call someplace my home. And then once I do call someplace my home, I'm going to go hard as fuck. Sorry, am I allowed to cuss on here?
Trust me.
We've all been cussing the whole time.
Because I said it, but I whispered it. But I'm like, oh.
You have the overarching goal, but then you have benchmarks along the way, like boxes you can check that help you realize okay, if this is what I'm working toward at the end of the tunnel, here's something I can do to increase my chances. Here's something I can do to elevate my value. Here's something I can do to, get in front of more people. There are little boxes that you check either consciously or subconsciously along the way, even if you're not defining that specific thing as a goal. So just keep checking the boxes, and then that end goal gets closer and closer.
Yeah, definitely.
That deserves the slam poetry snaps.
Oh man.
So we want to give you a chance to promote anything you want to promote, including this big match this weekend. But before that, Kaia, do you have anything else to ask our guests before we wrap up here tonight?
I usually do the witchy wisdom, but I'm going to throw it back to Viva. And I shared a piece of advice from my coach, and I would like to know if you have a piece of advice that Rikishi imparted upon you that has been helpful to you through your entire career. And I'm sure you've been asked this before, but I just had to ask.
The best advice that he's given me is he always tells us to fly low.
Mm-hmm.
And what he means by that is don't react. Because there's many things in wrestling where things that may come upon were unfair to you, where an opportunity gets taken away from you or someone gets in front of you somehow, but you just can't react or show any frustration. You just have to keep pushing and keep going. And I think that has saved me a lot, because if I would have went into wrestling before this advice, my younger self, I would have been cussing people out, probably been burning bridges. But Kishi has taught me to stay cool about it and keep moving forward. The will keeps on turning.
Remember that. Fly low.
Fly low. The will keeps on turning. That's another thing that he keeps telling me.
That's when very good advice.
You're left out, don't worry, because the will always keeps turning.
That's right. There's needed perspective from the veteran and legend of the business right there. So I promise that we give you a chance to plug anything you want to plug, social media handles, upcoming appearances, whatever else you want. Viva, the floor is yours.
Well, you guys can watch me this Saturday in San Jose, and I'm going to be the next CMLL World Women's Champion, and you can follow me at Hellbent Vixen.
On across platforms, right? This is
all platforms: Twitter, TikTok, IG, and Facebook. Are people still on
very
Facebook?
Good.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, to some extent. I think there's some robots arguing over there.
There's some robots over there somewhere.
We'll be watching with our Viva shirts and our Viva flags and our Viva hats like Homer Simpson.
Absolutely. Again, thank you both so much for joining us here today. What's the pupper's name again?
Her name's Dredd, and I know a lot of people are like, why'd you name her Dredd? I named her after Judge Dredd.
Amazing. The original movie, I hope.
This is Judge Dredd. No, that's who I named her after.
Love that so much.
We love it.
Kaia, not to put you on the spot, and maybe it's going to be repeated from what we've already heard, but close off the show. Give our listeners and viewers some witchy wisdom.
Man, I feel like I was firing gems off this whole interview, Kev.
Yes.
This is the Cliff Notes version.
Back to the pressure being privileged thing, and just remember that when you're given opportunities and you're put in positions where you feel pressure, you're there for a reason. And it's because people believe in you. Because nobody would pick somebody to do something important that they thought was going to do a terrible job. Yes.